Breaking today, the explosive civil war inside Talk TV has gone public. And let me tell you, folks, this is now getting messy. So you know the MSM have completely ignored this story, but it's significant because it involves the mainstream media, the future of the independent media, and the fact that Mike Graham has effectively been sacked for a post on Facebook, which he claims he didn't write. And of course, within that lineup, the person who has been boosted, and I just couldn't believe this, is a man called Mark Dolan. There he is, filling the spot that was previously Mr. Graham's and lobbying to replace him on the breakfast show called Morning Glory Behind the Scenes, which both Jeremy Kyle and Kevin O'Sullivan, who are close friends of Mike Graham, don't particularly want to host. But the problem is that those inside the station think that Mark Dolan is going to move the station to the, how do we put it, the mundane middle, I might say, the Tory trivia. And that was made clear last night when Mark Dolan, boasting about the fact that he was hosting Mike Graham's Friday show, posted, Adam Peaty's brother has been arrested over allegations he sent threats to the Olympian during his stag do. Swimmer Adam needed a police escort at Manchester Airport after the trip to Budapest. Full coverage tomorrow on Talk TV from 6 till 10 a.m. Kevin O'Sullivan simply posted, who? But he did so publicly. And that slapdown of Mark Dolan is said to represent the civil war behind the scenes at the station over the sacking of Mike Graham. And the viewer boycott continues. I mean, my goodness, you should see the comments when my friend Howard Cox posted the fact that he was going to be on Plank of the Week, which is going ahead with Kevin O'Sullivan, despite the fact that its audience figures have plummeted. Now, so far, only Russell Quirk. And by the way, I love Russell Quirk. No, he's a Reform UK guy. Don't agree with him on everything. Certainly not his views on Tommy Robinson. But I think he's such a good, loyal man. And he has been, thus far, the only talk presenter prepared to raise his head above the parapet and directly question management over the decision, not just to sack Mike, but also what this means for the station. And the fact that really this is probably now the beginning of the end. Watch. Dan Wootton Outspoken is available as a podcast too. So to listen or watch us on the go, wherever you are, then please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as a personal favour to me, please rate and review, as it really helps our independent show.
However, we need to go to the subject of Mike Graham, because over the last 4 weeks, there has been, I think it's fair to say, no pun intended, radio silence by Talk until yesterday when it was announced on Julia Hartley-Brewer's show that Mike effectively is not coming back to Talk as a consequence of this debacle over this post that appeared on his social media, which he says was placed by somebody else by way of a hack. But that effectively said the following, that he had an issue with the fact that multiculturalism had not worked. I think what should have happened here is that Mike perhaps should have been urged to clarify, make an explanation as to what he'd said in that post, if indeed it was him, and, to offer an apology, and then for News UK to say, look, we employ people with strong opinions. We employ people that say things that are bold and that not everybody agrees with. So in this kind of pang of, some might say, kind of woke morality on the part of News UK to get rid of someone that dares to say something that some people might think is a bit offensive and a bit odd and a bit wrong, they're now in a position where, if you look at the breakfast show since Mike was benched, the ratings have halved. I think the bosses have made a catastrophic mistake commercially, but also in terms of standing up for the right to free speech. So on the basis that the Plank of the Week show that I was just referencing has now seen its audience halve from 300,000 a week to about 150,000 because of Mike Graham's absence. And his show, the breakfast show, which it looks like now might be taken over by Jeremy, I don't know, I don't think he knows yet, actually. The commercial implications of what's happened here, I'm afraid, I think now put a big question mark, not over just the commercial viability of Talk itself, but also its very future.
Well, they do, because remember, at the moment, viewers are switching off in their droves. Mike Graham is promising that he will be returning to air, including running the popular segments like Plank of the Week, within weeks. And this is all the station has said. This is all they have said on air. Watch.
News UK, the parent company of this station, Talk, has made the following statement. Their statement reads as follows: "We were made aware of an abhorrent and vile post on Mike Graham's social platform several weeks ago. Mike Graham said this was not posted by him, and he agreed to cooperate with a company investigation using an independent forensic firm. He later reneged on several opportunities to cooperate with the company investigation. We have been gravely concerned at his repeated failure to cooperate on such a serious matter, and the decision has been taken that Mike Graham will not return to Talk."
So that was it. And what they're doing now, what the management are doing now, is briefing against Mike Graham into the mainstream media. Now, this is exactly what GB News did to me and actually continues to do to me to this day. And it's like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because the viewers understand why I did what I did, why Mike did what he did. And these sort of attacks, I think, do not go down well. But I'll read it to you. I'll tell you what they say because I want to show both sides of the story. This from the Daily Express. A TV insider, in other words, someone working for Rebecca Brooks and Talk TV, has revealed the real reason why Mike Graham was fired from Talk TV. And they go on to say that a source from News UK, the parent company of Talk, has given an insight into the real reason behind Graham's removal. They exclusively told the Daily Express Mike Graham had to go. He had to go. He claimed that his phone had been hacked, but everyone was skeptical of that explanation. He claimed that someone had hacked his Facebook account, but also hacked his iCloud and posted the offensive statement. News UK bosses gave him the benefit of the doubt and told him they would allow Mike and his legal representation to stand in a room with two forensic phone experts who would be able to go through his phone and figure out if he was actually hacked, who hacked the phone and what else they accessed. While Mike initially agreed to submitting his phone, he didn't turn up on the agreed date and time. So News UK gave him another date, and again, Mike did not turn up. This happened 4 times. 4 times he refused to hand over his phone, so News UK took the decision to end their working relationship with him. Mike was told he was sacked by the big boss, and they explained the reason behind the decision. To Connor Tomlinson now, host of the independent show Tomlinson Talks on YouTube. Connor, first up, I don't believe Mike Graham should have handed over his phone. I mean, that's an incredibly dangerous thing to do to a company like News UK. By the way, there has been loads of evidence and examples over the years of News UK actually handing over confidential journalistic sourcing to the police, Connor, to try and save their own necks. So Mike Graham, I know for a fact, had all of his private journalistic conversations on that device. It was a personal device, Connor. It was not a device owned by News UK. Do you see what I mean? It wasn't a work phone. So the fact that News UK think that they can say, and remember, News UK, biggest phone hackers, in history, can say, well, we're sacking him because he didn't hand over his phone. For me, I don't think that really is going to fly as an explanation. Certainly not amongst Talk viewers. What do you think? But first, as we get older, you notice it. After a cold day, hard workout, even a long week, recovery just isn't as quick as it used to be, right? That bounce back factor matters. And it turns out the secret isn't luck, it's stem cells, your body's built-in repair crew. With age, that system slows down. Fewer cells, weaker signals, slower recovery. That's exactly why Qualia created Qualia Stem Cell. Think of it this way. Your cells are powerful. Qualia Stem Cell helps keep them that way. It's crafted with nature's heavy lifters, sea buckthorn, royal jelly, and more to support your body's natural repair system so you can keep moving, healing, and thriving. You don't have to accept slowing down. This is about supporting better aging by reactivating the systems that help you bounce back. And it's refreshingly simple. You take it just 4 days a month. So if you've ever felt like your body just doesn't bounce back like it used to, whether it's after a tough workout, getting sick, or just the wear and tear of life, this is for you. Qualia Stem Cell was designed to support your body's natural repair systems, helping you heal, recover, and keep going strong. And right now, you can try it for up to 50% off at qualialife.com/Dan. And here's a bonus. Use the code Dan for an additional 15% off your order. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan. Your body's built to repair itself. Qualia just helps it do it that better. And a big thanks, by the way, to Qualia for sponsoring this episode of Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
I don't think it will fly amongst Mike's loyal listeners because they just want Mike back on the air no matter what. Mike was always rude and belligerent and quite dismissive, and so that's part of the charm that people that like listening to him enjoyed listening to. It was, however, something that caused him to lose allies. As I've discussed with you before, Dan, on your show, Mike decided to attempt to shit on people like me from a great height, and so has shrunk the number of people willing to come to his defense based on principle. And the reason is, as well, is because Mike's basically set this principle for himself. I mean, first of all, the insinuation here is, of course, that if News UK didn't feel that they had sufficient evidence without a forensic audit to prove that Mike had been hacked, what the suggestion seems to have been is Mike, drunk or sober, had made the ill-advised post and upset people with whom he shares a floor at TalkSport, caused discord in the building, and the News UK didn't think they could defend it. So Mike probably shouldn't have claimed that he was hacked if he wasn't willing to provide evidence of it, because there are big question marks about that. I mean, for example, I once had an ex-girlfriend break into my Facebook accounts to monitor what I was saying for some time, and I could find out where, when, and using which IP address or phone she had used to get into the accounts. That's all available via Facebook. So Mike could have just provided that as a screenshot to News UK, presumably as a piece of evidence that he was hacked. If he didn't, then, well, we can only presume he wasn't hacked. But also, the other problem is that Mike, as I mentioned last time, in 2021, I believe it was, after the Euros, after Saka and Sterling missed their penalties, and England came second, lots of people, it seems from Russia and Saudi Arabia, put some abusive, racist messages online, and there was a big moral panic in the English press about rampant racism in Britain against black football players. And Mike, the following day, had said, well, you know, we don't want racists in the country. If you're racist, you can leave or you can go to prison. Ta-ta! And it's like, well, Mike, unfortunately, when you post stuff like that, when you've already said that people deserve to be not just deplatformed, but, you know, ostracized from civilization, well, you set up the standard for it to happen to you too.
Yeah, and of course, and I mean, people can go back and watch our previous conversation, Connor, but he's also made, I think, some really unfair comments about Tommy Robinson. But I'm also excited to see Mike outside of the mainstream too, because I have a feeling, especially once he's gone through something like this, I mean, certainly from my point of view, Connor, as soon as you are free from those shackles, and it was the shackles we were speaking about earlier in the show, right? Because for all intents and purposes, as independent as Mike and I tried to be on a whole load of different issues, certainly when you're at Talk, ultimately your boss is Rupert Murdoch and he does patrol the content. And for me at GB News, ultimately your boss is Paul Marshall and he does patrol the content. So I am excited to see this new era. And I think what's great, and certainly having had conversations with Mike about this in the past, like, he can be belligerent. You know, that is his whole tone. And I understand why people like you and people like Tommy Robinson are like, you know, you idiot, because you're now reaping what you sow. But I also think in the independent space, Mike will have those debates. Do you know what I mean? He's not someone who is going to be scared of going toe to toe. And I want to see that. I want to see you versus Mike Graham. I want to see Mike Graham versus Tommy Robinson. Personally, I do think he is an exciting person to bring into this independent space because, as you say, Connor, we need to build up this network, right? And of course, earlier in the show, you're talking much more about, you know, young men. But Mike has a big audience, right? And he is one of the few people who I think will almost instantly bring that mainstream audience into the space. You know, if you have been used to waking up with Mike Graham for a number of years, you're still going to want to wake up with Mike Graham. And actually, you're probably going to much prefer it if he's unshackled in the independent space.
Oh, I don't doubt he's going to have a massive audience and do very well for himself, Dan. He's probably going to enjoy it a lot more, not having to be beholden to Ofcom regulations or an editorial line. I mean, just look at the success that his and Kevin O'Sullivan's podcast, The Fault Police, has when they can just sit around in a pub, have a few drinks, swear a lot. They have people show up to live events. I think they did a live one at the Battle of Ideas. So it's very lucrative, and there's clearly an audience for it. Stepping aside to whether or not I think Mike Graham will host these debates, because I don't think he will, because when I suggested we have a polite conversation about the same topic I'd spoken to Peter Cardwell about on the station before, so there wasn't a prohibitive editorial line at Talk about the influence of the World Economic Forum, he insulted me publicly and privately and then blocked me. However, even though I don't think he's going to have those debates, as you say, though he probably should, not necessarily with me, I think that this is a trend that is going to see a death by 1,000 cuts approach happen to traditional broadcast, print, and radio media. And that's because you are beholden to a biased government organisation that dictates what can and can't be said, increasingly shrinking its relevance within the Overton window when the British public wants to talk about issues like immigration, identity.
Yeah. Like,
Islam,
can Talk survive this, Connor? Because, like, Mark Dolan, come on. I mean, I know you probably think he's a lovely guy. Lots of people do. But, I mean, come on. Mark Dolan speaking for 4 hours about, you know, some drama involving Adam Peaty and Gordon Ramsay's daughter. I mean, seriously?
Yeah, Mark stopped replying to my texts a very long time ago, so I don't.
You're definitely too honest for him.
Oh well, I mean, I'm grateful for him for having platformed me on this GB News show, but that platforming stopped despite promising to keep bringing me back, and then my texts were read and went unanswered, even though I just said, oh, you know, congratulations on the new show, hope you do well online. So I don't think that they're going to be able to replicate the same audience sizes if they change out their main talking heads with loyal organic followings, and so if they keep caving to Ofcom pressure or political sensitivities, or even if just their hosts do silly things like this, because this is on mic, frankly, they're just going to lose talent, lose an audience over time. And also, it's just the production costs. I mean, do you remember when Talk expanded massively, dumped millions into Piers Morgan's show? Now, Piers Morgan's gone quote-unquote independent, and is making a lot of money and getting a lot of views.
Independent but broadcast on Channel 5, you know, the ultimate woke TV station. So I think, can we please just put an end to the, you know, this is not me criticising Piers Morgan, but I think, can we please just put an end to this baloney that Piers Morgan runs an independent show?
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that it doesn't have the same levels of production overhead as it was when it was at Talk. And so this old model of having a massive studio, of having presenters that get briefs from 5 or 6 producers, that do all the research for them, that have to bring in guests, that get cars all the time, that's just gone by the wayside, because I can do all that with consistent viewing figures higher than some of these outlets do every day, and I do all my own research, I do all my own editing, and I just film it from my office with a webcam and a microphone. The overheads are very low, and if people can make a living and a large audience for themselves doing just that, with far fewer production staff, not under the auspices of an editorial line by a corporation or a government, then people are going to gravitate towards that, and it seems that Mike's going to do pretty well for himself by doing that.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.